The planet was called VX-991 by the Galactic Coalition. Every species feared it. Its oceans were filled with giant predators, its land shook with earthquakes daily, and storms covered entire continents. Even the air carried dangerous microorganisms. Coalition law strictly forbade settlement there. Yet one day, long-range scanners detected billions of life signs on the surface. Inside the Coalition ship Silver Horizon, Commander Thelra stared at the hologram in disbelief. "Confirm population count," she ordered. The scientist swallowed nervously. "Approximately 11 billion intelligent life forms." The room fell silent. "That's impossible," another officer whispered. "No advanced species could survive on VX-991. The scans zoomed closer. Cities appeared across the planet. Massive glowing civilizations stretched beside oceans and mountains. Aircraft moved through violent storms like they were harmless. Then the species profile appeared. Species name, human. Commander Thelra frowned. Humans? The new species from the Sol system. Yes, Commander. But humans are biologically soft. No claws, armor, or natural defenses. The scientist looked terrified. Apparently, this is their homeworld. Before anyone could speak, warning alarms exploded across the bridge. Magnetic storm detected. The ship shook violently as lightning storms slammed into the shields. Crew members grabbed their stations. Outside the window, the planet looked alive with rage. Black clouds covered entire oceans while volcanoes erupted across distant continents. Then suddenly, a transmission appeared. A calm human voice spoke casually. "Coalition vessel, you're flying into a bad storm. Turn 21 degrees starboard unless you want to explode." The bridge crew stared in shock. Commander Thelra activated communications. "You live on this planet?" A short silence followed. Then the human laughed. "Lady, this is Earth. Of course we live here." Uff. The deadliest planet in known space was humanity's home. The screen activated, showing a human man sitting calmly inside a city tower while thunder crashed behind him. "You aliens okay?" he asked. "You all look scared." The scientist whispered quietly, "They think this is normal." Suddenly another alarm echoed through the ship. "Warning, life form detected." The rear doors burst open. A massive creature charged into the bridge. It had 6 legs, black armored skin, and rows of razor-sharp teeth. Venom dripped from its mouth, burning holes into the metal floor. Crew members screamed. Security drones fired instantly, but the creature ripped them apart easily. One officer disappeared inside its jaws. Commander Thelra shouted, "Contain it." The beast roared loudly and slammed another guard across the room. Then the human on the screen blinked in surprise. "Oh," he said casually. "You've got a razor maw on board." Thelra stared at him. "You know this monster?" "Yeah," the human replied. "Pretty common near Australia." The bridge became silent. "Common?" The creature lunged again. Then another video feed suddenly appeared. A human woman stood inside the ship's cargo bay carrying only a metal rod. Nobody understood how she boarded so quickly. The razor maw charged her immediately. The aliens expected panic. Instead, the woman sighed. "Great," she muttered. "Another one." At the last second, she stepped sideways and smashed the metal rod against the creature's skull. Crack. The giant predator collapsed instantly. Dead. Silence filled the bridge. The woman wiped sweat from her forehead. "Yeah," she said calmly, "definitely from Earth." Commander Thelra stared at the dead monster in horror. "That thing killed armed soldiers." The woman shrugged. "Back home, people wrestle smaller ones for fun." For the first time in her military career, Commander Thelra truly feared another species. Not because humans were cruel. Not because they were violent. But because they had evolved on a world so deadly that nightmares had become normal to them. And somehow, humanity had survived. 3 days later, the Galactic Coalition officially landed on Earth. Commander Thelra stepped carefully out of the shuttle wearing a full environmental protection suit. Warning symbols immediately flashed across her helmet screen. Toxic microorganisms detected. High bacterial activity. Extreme weather conditions. Her breathing became slower. "How are humans surviving this?" she whispered. Beside her, the human ambassador looked confused. "Surviving what?" Rain hammered the landing platform while thunder exploded across the sky. Powerful winds shook nearby buildings, yet humans casually walked through the storm carrying drinks and talking peacefully. None wore protective suits. Children even played in puddles while lightning flashed overhead. Thelra stared in disbelief. This weather is dangerous. The ambassador laughed lightly. This? It's just rain. As the delegation moved through the city, the aliens became increasingly horrified. Humans willingly consumed burning chemical foods called spices. Others jumped from aircraft for entertainment. Some climbed mountains covered in ice and deadly winds simply because they liked the view. Everywhere the coalition looked, humans seemed addicted to danger. Inside a transportation tunnel, a loud rumbling suddenly shook the ground. The alien scientists panicked instantly. "Earthquake," one shouted. But the nearby humans barely reacted. A woman calmly continued reading her tablet. Another man sighed and said, "Small one." The shaking stopped after a few seconds. Commander Thelra looked shocked. "You experience ground instability regularly?" The ambassador nodded casually. "Pretty often." "How are your cities still standing?" "We learned how to build them stronger." That answer disturbed her more than anything else. Humans did not avoid danger. They adapted to it. Later, the coalition visited a human history museum. Thelra expected stories of peaceful progress like other civilizations. Instead, she discovered humanity's terrifying past. World wars, pandemics, famines, natural disasters, entire civilizations collapsing. Yet humanity survived every single one. The alien scientist beside her looked pale while reading the records. "Your species fought wars while your planet itself tried killing you." The human guide nodded. "Pretty much." "Why didn't your civilization collapse?" The guide smiled slightly. "Because humans are stubborn." Thelra slowly began understanding the truth. Earth had forced humanity to evolve differently from every other intelligent species. Most civilizations grew in stable environments. Humans grew inside chaos. Suddenly emergency sirens echoed across the city. The coalition delegation froze. Outside, dark clouds rotated violently above the skyline. "A cyclone is forming," announced the city speakers calmly. Alien officials panicked immediately. "Evacuate. Seal the shuttle. Activate emergency shields." But humans around them remained surprisingly calm. Traffic redirected smoothly. Citizens entered secure buildings without screaming or chaos. One human delivery driver looked at the sky and groaned. "Again? I just washed the truck." Commander Thelra could hardly believe it. The storm intensified rapidly. Powerful winds smashed debris through the streets while rain hit like bullets against windows. Then the aliens saw the tornado. It towered across the city like a monster made from clouds and destruction. Thelra stepped backward in horror. No species could survive on this world. The human ambassador quietly answered. "Exactly." The tornado passed through part of the city before moving toward the ocean. Emergency teams immediately began repairs. Within minutes, humans returned to normal life. Restaurants reopened. Children laughed. Music played again. It was as if destruction itself had become routine. That night, Commander Thelra stood alone near the city window watching lightning cover Earth's skies. Finally, she understood why humanity frightened the galaxy. Humans were not fearless. They simply grew up on a planet where fear solved nothing. Earth had taught them one brutal lesson since the beginning of their species. Adapt. Endure. Survive. And because of that lesson, humanity had become something the galaxy had never seen before. A species capable of thriving where every other civilization would die. News about Earth spread across the galaxy quickly. Most alien civilizations refused to believe the reports. They could not accept that humans truly evolved on the deadliest world ever discovered. So the Galactic Coalition decided to test humanity. The experiment was called the Predator Trial. Commander Thelra opposed the idea immediately. "This is dangerous," she warned the Council. "Humans are not ordinary beings." But curiosity was stronger than fear. The Coalition created several survival arenas based on deadly environments from across known space. Their goal was simple. Prove humans were exaggerating. Humanity accepted the challenge instantly. Even worse, millions volunteered. Inside the Coalition arena on Varco Station, thousands of spectators filled the massive observation hall. The first test involved a giant predator from the desert world Krath. The creature was enormous, covered in thick armor plating, with claws capable of slicing military vehicles apart. Expected survival time for an unarmed civilian: 40 seconds. The human volunteer entered calmly. Her name was Maya Ortiz. Occupation: wildlife photographer. The alien audience became confused. "She's not military?" She has no weapons. This human will die immediately. The gates opened slowly. The predator emerged with a terrifying roar that shook the arena walls. Its glowing eyes locked onto Maya instantly. Commander Thelra watched nervously. The beast charged. Fast. Violent. Deadly. The audience expected the human to panic. Instead, Maya stood still until the last possible second. Then suddenly she moved. She rolled beneath the creature with incredible speed, climbed onto its back, and grabbed the armored ridge near its neck. The predator roared wildly, trying to throw her off. Maya laughed. Relax, big guy. The entire arena fell silent. Was the human enjoying this? After several minutes, the impossible happened. The giant predator stopped fighting. Slowly, it calmed down beneath her. Maya gently patted its head while the audience stared in complete shock. Commander Thelra whispered quietly, "How?" The human scientist beside her smiled proudly. "Earth animals are worse." The second test began immediately. This arena simulated a frozen death zone with temperatures cold enough to kill most species within minutes. The human volunteer entered wearing only a light thermal jacket. Alien scientists monitored his condition carefully. Minutes passed. Then an hour. The human remained alive. Not only alive, comfortable. At one point, he even sat down and drank coffee. "This weather reminds me of Canada," he said casually. The coalition observers looked horrified. The final trial was the most dangerous. The Black Zone. A radioactive environment filled with electromagnetic storms and toxic air. No species had survived there longer than 30 seconds. Commander Thelra personally warned the humans. "You do not understand the danger." The human representative smiled calmly. "You just described Australia with extra steps." Thelra had no idea what that meant, but somehow it frightened her. 3 humans entered the Black Zone. 30 seconds passed. Then 1 minute. 5 minutes. The coalition control room became silent. Finally, after nearly an hour, the humans returned. Dirty. Exhausted. But alive. One human carried strange glowing plants. Another held pieces of broken machinery. The third was eating something. Commander Thelra stared in disbelief. "You consumed food from the Black Zone?" The human shrugged. "Tasted weird, but not terrible." Medical teams rushed forward immediately. Scans revealed radiation exposure, chemical contamination, and multiple injuries. Yet the humans remained functional. One doctor whispered fearfully. "Their bodies adapt faster than predicted biological limits." At that moment, the Galactic Coalition finally understood the terrifying truth. Humans were not surviving dangerous worlds by luck. Earth had shaped them into something different. Something stronger. A species forged by disasters, predators, disease, war, and endless hardship. Most intelligent life avoided suffering. Humans evolved because of it. Commander Thelra looked through the observation window at the humans laughing together after the trials. For the first time, she understood why Earth was called a death world. Not because it killed life. Because it created humans. After the Predator trial, fear spread across the galaxy. Alien leaders now understood the truth. Humans were not weak creatures from a peaceful world. They were survivors born from the harshest planet ever discovered. Some coalition members wanted friendship with humanity. Others wanted war before humans became too powerful. Commander Thelra argued against both fear and panic. "Humans are dangerous," she admitted to the council, "but they are not monsters." General Varrowan slammed his claw against the table. "How can you be certain? They thrive in conditions that kill us instantly." Thelra answered calmly. "Because I have been to Earth. Humanity does not seek destruction." Before anyone could respond, emergency alarms suddenly exploded across the chamber. "Warning, orbital impact detected." The entire station shook violently. Screens flashed red as reports flooded in. A massive meteor storm had struck K'Areth, the coalition's industrial capital. Defense satellites were destroyed instantly. Fragments rained through the atmosphere like fire. Entire districts collapsed. Panic erupted. Council members shouted over each other. "Deploy emergency fleets. Seal orbital gates. Evacuate civilians." But coalition rescue systems required approval codes and command chains. It would take hours. Hours K'Areth did not have. Then every screen in the chamber suddenly changed. A new signal appeared. A human emergency broadcast. "This is Earth Disaster Response Fleet," a calm voice announced. "We are entering K'Areth orbit now." The room froze. General Varroin looked stunned. What? Seconds later, human ships dropped from hyperspace directly into the meteor field. The maneuver was suicidal. Burning debris surrounded them from every direction. Coalition pilots would never risk such conditions. The humans flew straight through it. Commander Thelra watched in disbelief as Earth vessels descended through fire toward the surface. Then rescue footage began appearing live. Human teams charged into collapsing buildings without hesitation. They crawled through fire. Lifted shattered metal by hand. Ignored injuries that would disable most species. One recording showed a human medic treating alien civilians while blood ran down her own face. Another showed rescue workers shielding children from falling debris using their own bodies. General Varroin stared silently. Why are they doing this? Thelra answered softly. Because that is what humans do. Hours passed. The human rescue effort saved millions. By sunrise, the storm of destruction had ended. Kaereth still stood. Barely. Coalition citizens emerged from shelters to see human workers already rebuilding streets and restoring power systems. One young Kaereth child approached a tired human rescuer. The alien child tilted his head. You could have died helping us. The human smiled warmly. Yeah. Then why come? The rescuer looked confused by the question. Because you needed help. The child said nothing, but his wide eyes said everything. Across the galaxy, billions watched the rescue footage. Fear slowly turned into understanding. Humans were terrifying, yes. They survived impossible worlds. Endured endless pain. Adapted faster than any known species. But they did not use that strength to conquer. They used it to protect. Commander Thelra stood on Kaereth's broken streets as human engineers worked around her. For years, the galaxy had misunderstood humanity. They thought Earth created monsters. They were wrong. Earth had created protectors. A species hardened by suffering, yet still capable of compassion. And that, Thelra realized, was far more powerful than fear. For the first time, the galaxy saw humanity clearly. Not as death-world predators. But as survivors who refused to let others face disaster alone. 1 year after first contact, the Galactic Coalition officially changed Earth's classification. Previous designation. Class Death World. New designation. Extreme Survival World, restricted access. No known species besides humans could safely live there long-term. Even trained alien soldiers required protective suits just to survive a few hours on the planet's surface. Yet humanity called it home. Commander Thelra returned to Earth one final time before retirement. She stood beside the human ambassador on a cliff overlooking the Atlantic Ocean. Dark storm clouds rolled across the horizon while giant waves crashed against the rocks below. To humans, it was beautiful. To most alien species, it looked like the end of the world. Rain began falling heavily. Thelra looked toward the distant human cities glowing beneath the storm. There is something I still do not understand, she admitted quietly. The ambassador smiled slightly. What's that? Why are humans always hopeful? Lightning flashed across the ocean. Thelra continued softly. Your history is filled with war, disasters, disease, and suffering. Your planet itself tries to kill you constantly. The human nodded. That's true. Then why does your species continue smiling? Fighting? Helping others? For a long moment, the ambassador remained silent. Finally, he answered. Because hope is the reason we survived. The word stayed with her. Humans were not fearless creatures. They felt fear constantly. But unlike most species, humans never allowed fear to stop them. Earth had taught them that survival depended on continuing forward no matter how painful life became. The ambassador activated a hologram showing human history. Ancient wars. Floods. Pandemics. Earthquakes. Famines. Every generation faced another disaster. Yet every generation rebuilt. Again and again. We learned something important on Earth, the ambassador said quietly. The universe does not care if we survive. Thunder rolled through the dark sky. So humans decided to care about each other instead. Commander Thelra finally understood. That was humanity's true strength. Not weapons. Not physical endurance. Not adaptability. It was persistence. Humans simply refused to surrender. Suddenly emergency sirens echoed across the coastline. Massive warning lights activated near the harbor. Thelra looked toward the ocean in alarm. A gigantic storm surge was approaching the city. Waves taller than buildings crashed toward the sea walls. Alien instincts screamed at her to run. Shouldn't we evacuate? She asked quickly. The human ambassador calmly sipped his drink. Nah, he said casually. The barriers should hold. Thelra stared at him. Should. He shrugged. If they fail, we rebuild. She laughed despite herself. That single sentence perfectly described humanity. No matter what happened. They rebuilt. The storm finally struck. Water exploded against the massive walls protecting the city. Winds roared across the coastline while thunder shook the ground beneath them. But the humans below continued working together calmly. Emergency crews moved through the streets. Citizens helped each other reach shelters. Nobody surrendered to panic. Nobody gave up. Commander Thelra watched silently as humanity faced another disaster exactly as they always had. Together. At that moment, she realized why humans would someday become one of the greatest species in the galaxy. Not because they came from the deadliest world. But because surviving that world had taught them something no other civilization truly understood. Strength is not about never falling. Strength is standing back up every single time. As the storm raged against Earth's coastline, humanity endured beneath dark skies and crashing oceans. Bruised. Exhausted. Defiant. Alive. And across the galaxy, countless civilizations slowly began understanding the truth about humans. The galaxy feared death worlds because they destroyed life. But Earth had done something far more dangerous. It had created humanity.